Welcome to Preparing for the Unexpected. I'm your host, Alex Fullick, and as always, we like to talk about things related to cyber resilience, business continuity, emergency management, anything that helps you, your organization, or your community prepare for, respond to, and overcome adverse situations. Today, we're going to be talking about one of those things I just mentioned, cyber resilience and cyber attacks and some of the other things that are associated with that. And I'd like to introduce cyber resilience guru, like a practitioner and someone knows a lot about this for his fourth time back on the show. I'd like to welcome back Agnidipta Sarkar. Agni, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back, and it's absolutely a delight to talk to you.
It's great to have you back for a fourth time. We always have some great, interesting, insightful chats. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, I know before we started recording, we started to have a chat about some cyber issues. Why don't I hand it right over to you to get us started, and you can tell us about what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so I think I started by talking about the recent AI attack, and I was trying to equate that to how a physical attack would actually happen. So if there were, let's say, some people who are trying to attack a port or a harbor, the attackers have to come from somewhere. They need a path. They need an intent to attack something because at the end of the day, they need to profit out of it. So they need to succeed in the attack and then they need to get out. And we've seen this in movies. All the movies that you see where the heroes get into, a bunch of guys, Expendables and all those kind of movies, they go in, they have an attack path, they attack the target that they're trying to attack, exfiltrate, take out someone, or they want to save someone, they exfiltrate that person, get out. In the way they probably lose some people, get harmed or whatever. But you still need an attack path. You still need an exit path. So be it AI or human, if you don't have an attackable target, you can't succeed. So if you remember, that's what I told you earlier, that the whole idea of cyber resilience so far has been to defend against and stop an attack. Try and stop an attack. But as we've realized, in 2025, if you look at the market for cybersecurity, it's just going up. I was reading this morning that security CISO salaries are going up, but attacks are not coming down. So there seems to be no correlation between our investment in cybersecurity tools and the cyber attacks themselves. Digital investments are going on. Digital footprint is expanding, yet cyber attacks are going on. So somewhere this is not matching up. Ideally, if you have a disease and you go to a doctor and he gives you a shot in the arm or he prescribes you medicines, your disease is supposed to come down. It's not supposed to increase. But this is not happening in the cyber world. And one of the primary reasons is that people have figured out how to bypass your defenses. And every cyber attacker is smart. CISA, for example, CISA is Center for Information Security which is run by the government of America, in the US government, and they have a website which profiles cyber attackers. And if you go there and study, you will realize there is a particular pattern in which they attack. There's a standard called MITRE attack, and MITRE has actually framed the attack patterns. So they do a recon as to what they can attack. Again, I'm going back to the movie example that I gave earlier. So someone has to go do a recon as to find out what they can attack. Then they have to go and build resources to attack, isn't it? They need to figure out, okay, so I need a gunner, I need a swordsman, I need this, I need a bomber, I need a fire, whatever. They need people, they need resources. So they need to go build resources. This time, you really can't do anything about it. The attacked cannot do anything about it because it's happening outside the sphere of your control. Then comes the attack. Once they're ready, then they're going to come and attack. when they attack, they will attack your gateways or places from where they can come in. Now, most of our investments is in these gateways. And we are trying to put in capabilities so that we can stop that attack. We can fight back. You might have heard about offensive security, defensive security. All those things are about how do we stop that initial access? Now you can stop some of those. And every day the technology is improving and we are stopping a large number of attacks. That is true. But we're also not able to stop some attacks. Look, the attacker needs to be successful once, but you as a defender, you need to be successful every time. That's difficult, complex. So what is happening is the attacks are unrelenting, and the whole attack industry, it's an industry now. So there is something called as initial access brokers. They come in, they attack, they only find out how they can attack and find a group gap, and then they go back and sell that information to the other guys who come with big guns and attack that. So they have an industry out there. Now, what you can do is to have some initial investments, which I believe in 2025, we've put in a lot of investments. It is time to look inside. Now, once they breach your initial defenses, then what they do is called lateral movement, which means they they land on one server, and then they look around what other servers they can hit, and then they go and attack other servers. The attack that happened that was in the news recently was an attack on using AI, Claude AI, and the attackers went very quickly from discovering what other systems they can attack and traveling to those systems and attacking them. Some 30 companies got impacted apparently. Now the point is this: if they did not have a route to attack, if they could only attack one system, then the attack wouldn't spread. Now, is that possible? That's possible. So you can reduce the attack surface and you can reduce the blast radius, which is after you attack one system, how many other systems can you attack? If you're able to do this successfully, you've limited the ability of the attacker to attack. That's what I was saying.
So can you explain those two pieces that you just said in a little bit more detail? The what was it? The reducing the attack path, and what was the other half?
Blast
Reducing the
radius.
blast radius. What do you
Yes.
mean by both of those?
So mm, the so basically an attack path is how much can you travel, how quickly can you go from your exposed systems to your critical assets.
Okay.
And blast radius is how further can you go after you have captured one system. Now that is called as lateral movement. So if you look at any traditional network, there is something called the north-south movement, which means you're coming from the outside going inside. And there's east-west, which is moving within the enterprise. Now, if you look at any standard enterprise, which is not attacked, at any point in time, only 15% of the traffic, 10 to 15% of the traffic is coming from outside inside. And 80 to 90% of the traffic is traveling within the organization, right? That's from a traffic perspective. So which means that all that someone needs to do is to bypass the initial gateway. And again, let me tell you this. If you look and do your research today, most of the gateway devices, all the companies, F5, Cisco, Fortinet was today again, all of them are being attacked. And there are vulnerabilities that come up in all these systems. The moment the vulnerabilities come up, the attacker knows that they can come in now because they have a vulnerable firewall or a VPN or a gateway that they can use to come in. Now, that's where comes the concept of zero trust. And the most foundational zero trust mechanism is called as micro-segmentation. Theoretically, what it means is you create a small network, a micro segment, very small network. And then you define who can come into that network, microsegment, and go out. So if you've got, let's say, a critical server or a server in between, then you say that this server can only talk to two machines. But before you did that, that server was able to talk to everyone around it. Imagine you walking down to a museum. You buy a ticket, you go inside, and now you can figure out which room you want to go. Whichever room you want to go, you can go. That's blast radius.
Okay.
Now, if you look at attack surface, you go and let's say you want to go and meet a government official. You go to that office, you show your identity, someone will verify your identity, talk to the person, verify from the person that that person has actually got an appointment with you, and only then allow you inside. That's a straight attack surface. That's how much you can attack. And then after your meeting is done, you just can't go into another room. You have to go the same way out. Someone will escort you out. So imagine a network that is there and you are able to reduce the attack surface to limit it like the government office I said, then the attacker cannot move anywhere, isn't it?
So if that's the case, if you can limit someone from moving all over the place, are there, does that come down to strengthening your internal processes then?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
not just making sure trying to keep everybody out,
No.
but me- um, really strengthening where everybody is already within your organization and their permissions and things like
Absolutely.
that.
For example, let's say someone is a SAP user. What does that SAP user need? They come in through a gateway. Let's say the person is outside enterprise, but they come in through a gateway, authenticate their selves themselves, and then they need to go to the SAP server and straight away open an application, fill out something, and finish and do their job and get out. That's all. That's a valid user. What happens when an attacker walks in? The attacker tries to, break through that authentication. And there are many ways there. There is something called a man in the middle attack. Someone can obfuscate your multi-factor authentication, except if you're using cryptographic passwordless credentials, then it's very difficult to break that because mathematically you cannot.
Hmm.
So, which means the only person who's coming in now is a valid user. And the valid user will come in, go straight to the application, do his task, and get out. But sometimes even that can be hijacked. Someone can, let's say, take over your laptop, or you give it to someone within your organization. They do a social engineering, get into your laptop. You are a valid user and use your credentials to go in. Once they're inside, then they start treating the network like the museum. Now they try to figure out where else can I go. But you restricted the blast radius, which means earlier, when you were doing all this, the security operations center people could not distinguish between a valid user actions and the actions of a perpetrator because they didn't know what was not allowed. But now you disallowed a whole lot of stuff. So suddenly, your attempt at moving somewhere else becomes malicious
Hmm.
and you get exposed. Secondly, what you can also do, there is a technology called deception. So you put a lure there. So you're now looking at, imagine this, you enter a museum and you're looking at many gates, and one of the gates looks very attractive to you because it sort of seems to have something that you're interested in. So you go towards that gate, but that gate is a deception gate. All that you do is you enter that gate and you find everything very attractive and you spend all your lifetime there. Done. Allure is a technology, it's a piece of very simple software that looks like an attackable machine. It's a decoy. So the moment you go there, you suddenly become malicious.
Hmm. So you can kind of uh, it's a way of identifying that, hey, somebody has Alex's laptop, and if
Yes.
they go in there, then it's for bad reasons.
Yes,
And Alex
absolutely.
doesn't have permission to go in there. So we know Alex's laptop
No,
is,
you may have the permission to go in there, but your normal work,
mm,
your normal behavior doesn't take you there. Your normal behavior
right.
takes you to SAP, you fill up two forms and you get out. But your behavior suddenly becomes abnormal because you tried to go into a place where you're not supposed to go.
Hmm. And then that's a flag to
That's a flag.
the operations people or the cyber people, whoever's doing that
Yes,
monitoring, to say, we got something. Something's going
we
on.
got something. Yes. So that's one part. And therefore, if you've got all these three in a chain, all these three done, first part, micro-segmentation. So you've reduced the attack surface, you've reduced the blast radius, you've reduced opportunities for someone to attack you. Your security operations center, which receives a whole lot of logs and reports, your security incident and event management tool that tells you that there is an attack ongoing. They can't distinguish between what is really an attack and what is not.
Right.
You might have read that people get overwhelmed with the amount of information that reaches a SOC. But the moment you reduce the attack surface, it means now all those false positives become real. Because if someone is attacking you through the allowed path, then that definitely is an attack. And with current investments in cybersecurity, you have enough tools to defeat that.
So it's kind of not just the way I'm envisioning it, is it's not just managing the permissions I have to get in, but it's also managing the permissions I don't have to identify
Absolutely.
that, hey,
You
you
hit the nail on
stepped
the head.
outside of your normal realm, or your profile has gone outside. If it's not me personally, someone with
Absolutely.
your profile has stepped out of the norm as well.
Absolutely. When I was a CISO, I remember, so I had a friend who was working for another company and he wanted business. And he's been plaguing me since for a long time, you need to give me business and all that. And I said, no, that doesn't work. I know you're a good friend, but I can't give you business. And he said, I can give you a very special information. I said, what? He said, some of your credentials are on the dark web. I said, what's the business that you do? He said, we scour the dark web for such information. And I could be of great help to you. I said, okay, give me the information. He gave me information that someone who thought he was very smart. And what they were doing is that they were buying pizza off Domino's using the company username and password because they thought in their minds that by using the company email address as login, because you need a login, right, into the Domino application. By using the company email address, they get all the emails at the right place. And because the company changes passwords every 3 months, they would be changing their password on Domino's. So they're fairly secure. But what they did not realize is that Domino's got hacked. So that username and password that this person was using was now available on dark web for sale. All that somebody had to do was to pick up that information, log in as that user, and he would be inside. But because we got this information up ahead in advance, we were able to immediately reset all passwords. Now, this is something that happened in 2020, pre-COVID. Today, it's a totally different scenario. With AI coming in, it's much faster. I mean, I had time to breathe. He said, yeah, your data is out there. I said, okay, let me go reset all passwords. People don't like me. It's okay. I had about, a day and a half to work on it. Now, you don't have that day and a half.
You have seconds.
You have seconds.
Yeah,
So that's what I meant by, and you got it right. That's exactly what I meant by attack surface and blast radius.
perfect. On that note, we've come to the end of our first segment. We're talking with Agni Sarkar today about cyber resilience, and some incredible points there. You really got my mind going on this one. So good job, Agni. You're going to make a cyber person out of me yet. So we'll be right back.